In this video, we're going to look at quantitative reasoning strategies with money. Quantitative reasoning steps are pretty much the same universally, even when you're in calculus and beyond. So these 7 steps will continue to be true no matter what math class you're taking. The first step is to read the entire question. The second step is to draw a picture, and this is obviously when possible, but draw a picture. 3, assign a variable to the unknown. 4 is to translate to an equation. 5 is to solve the equation. 6 is to check your work. And you always want to go back and look at your original wording to make sure it makes sense. And then 7 is to state your answer clearly. With appropriate units, that's also very important. So if you're asked about something in inches or in dollars, you want to represent your answer in dollars. If they ask for cents, you want to make sure you're answering with cents instead of dollars. They're very different. So let's take a look at example 1. A student needs to take out a loan to buy a used car. The cost of the car is $8,955. The loan will be paid off in equal monthly payments of $188. Excluding interest, so we're not assuming that interest is calculated into this, how many months will it take to pay off the loan? Well, let's go ahead and we've read the whole question, so now we need to draw a picture. Well, drawing a picture for this scenario doesn't necessarily apply, but we do want to assign some variables. So car cost is given, and that's $8,955. The payments are monthly, and that's $188. Now we need to make sure that we are assigning a variable that's appropriate for this situation. The loan will be paid off monthly with monthly payments, and we want to know how many months it will take. So number of payments is what we don't know. So we could call that n for the number of payments. So if we know that each payment is $180 and there are n of them, that should equal the total car cost. So that should equal $8,955. So we've set up an equation. Now we need to solve it. I need to isolate the variable n, so I'm going to divide both sides by 188. This gives me n by itself is equal to 8,955 divided by 188, and the answer should come out to be 47.63. Now, obviously we can't have a partial month, and so since these are payments, this means that you won't necessarily be paying off a full $188 on the last payment, but there will be a leftover. So we do need to round this up. So this is where that last little bit comes in, where you want to make sure that you check the answer within the original wording to make sure it makes sense. So if this represents the number of months, we need to round up to a full 48 months. And then we check that in the original just to make sure that it makes sense, and then state the answer clearly. So I've said that n equals 48 months, and so that's done. Example 2 says a family is budgeting for homemade meals. They consistently spend $6 per breakfast, $9 per lunch, and an unknown amount per dinner. If they want to stay within a $900 budget for groceries per month, how much should they spend on dinner each night? Well, if they're asking how much should be spent on dinner each night, that's clearly going to be the variable that we're looking for. We need to list these out. So breakfast, we'll say breakfast is $9. Oh, sorry. So let's list these out. We have breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And for each one of those, they spend $6 per breakfast, $9 per lunch, and an unknown for dinner. So this is what we're looking for, the amount we need to spend per dinner. Now, since we assume that this is a 30-day month, we could say that our budget has to be $900 total dollars for the month. So we don't want to spend over that. So I need to write some sort of scenario that represents every meal that's happening during that month. So I would do 6 times 30 meals, that's representing how many breakfasts in a month, plus 9 times 30, that's how many lunches are in the month, and the cost per. So just remember it's dollars times the number of those meals. And then we don't know how much the dinners need to cost, so we'll call that X times 30. But we know that our total budget should be within the $900. So this will allow us to then solve for the unknown. So this is $180 for breakfasts, if I multiply these out, plus $270 for lunch, plus 30x for dinner equals 900. Now I need to subtract away my 180 from both sides. And I also need to subtract my 270 from both sides. And so since I'm doing this to one side, I need to do it to the other. It's also a way to subtract out the costs that we know for breakfast and lunches. So this will give me 30x is equal to $450. So now if I divide both sides by 30, representing the number of days, this will give me the value I can spend for each dinner, which is $15. So just making sure that we're clearly stating our solution, we say that this is $15 that we can spend per dinner. And we're done.